Truth has a way of eluding you when you're desperate for it. The harder you search, the more frustrated you become, and sleep feels impossible when your mind is flooded with the noise of unspoken questions. The truth is not always easy to find, and when it feels just out of reach, it creates a frustration that steals your peace of mind. Sleep becomes a challenge as you lie awake, searching for clarity in the darkness. Frustration can feel like a constant storm in your mind, making sleep feel impossible. When the truth is elusive and your thoughts are tangled, it's hard to find any peace, even in the quiet of the night. In the stillness of the night, frustration takes over. The search for truth feels endless, and sleep becomes a distant memory as your mind races with unanswered questions and emotions too strong to ignore. There are moments when the truth feels so far away, and all you can do is lie awake, consumed by the frustration of not knowing. Sleep becomes impossible, and all you can do is search for peace in the chaos of your thoughts. The weight of frustration is heavy, especially when you're searching for something as elusive as truth. In those moments, sleep becomes an unattainable goal, and all you're left with is a mind that won't quiet down. I can feel the frustration building up, as if every thought is another weight on my chest. The truth is so elusive, and my mind won't let me rest, no matter how badly I need sleep. Frustration and uncertainty often go hand in hand. When you're desperate to find the truth, it can feel like your mind is caught in a loop, keeping you awake as you try to make sense of everything that feels out of place. Have you ever tried to sleep but found your mind too full of question to rest? The frustration of wanting to know the truth can keep you up all night, unable to silence the noise in your head. Truth has a way of evading us when we need it most. It's in those moments of frustration, when we can't seem to find the answers, that sleep slips away, leaving us stuck in a cycle of searching and longing. The mind is a powerful thing, and when it's frustrated, it doesn't easily let go. It becomes impossible to sleep when you're caught up in the search for truth, trying to piece together the puzzle of your thoughts. It's hard to let go of frustration, especially when you're trying to find something as important as the truth. The more you search, the more elusive it becomes, and sleep is just another casualty of your restless mind. I often wonder if I'll ever find the answers I'm looking for. The frustration of not knowing the truth keeps me awake, tossing and turning in search of something that feels just out of reach. When truth feels like a distant dream, frustration becomes your constant companion. Sleep becomes impossible when your thoughts are consumed with the need for answers, and all you can do is wait for the peace that never comes. Sometimes, The mind won't let go of the things you need to understand. The frustration of wanting the truth keeps you awake, creating a storm of thoughts that refuse to quiet down long enough for sleep to find its way. It's strange how frustration and truth often go hand in hand. The more we search for answers, the more frustrated we become, and the more impossible it seems to find the peace we need to sleep. Sleep should be a release from the stress of the day, but when the search for truth is overwhelming, it becomes just another battleground where frustration reigns and rest seems unattainable. Have you ever had a night where your thoughts are so loud you can't sleep? The frustration of not having the truth you seek can keep you awake, running in circles with no resolution in sight. The harder I try to find answers, the more frustrated I become. My mind races through endless possibilities, and sleep feels like a distant memory, lost somewhere in the frustration of not knowing the truth. Truth can feel like a shadow in the darkness, always just out of reach. When you're caught in the frustration of searching for it, sleep becomes an elusive dream that fades away every time you try to find rest. When you're trapped in the cycle of searching for answers, frustration builds and sleep becomes an impossible goal. Your mind is flooded with thoughts, each one a piece of the puzzle you can't quite complete. Sometimes the hardest thing is to sit with the frustration of not knowing the truth. The more you try to find it, the further it slips away, leaving you wide awake, consumed by the need for answers that never seem to come. The frustration of being caught between what you know and what you want to know can keep you awake long after the world falls asleep. Truth can be elusive, and sleep is the first casualty when you're lost in the search for it. Have you ever found yourself wide awake in the stillness of the night, unable to quiet your mind? The frustration of not knowing the truth can be overwhelming, and it's in those moments of uncertainty that sleep eludes you, leaving only your restless thoughts behind. The search for truth often feels like an endless journey, where every step brings you closer, yet leaves you further from peace. I lie awake, caught between the desire for answers and the heavy weight of unanswered questions. Sometimes the truth we seek is hidden in the quietest moments, the ones where frustration builds and sleep seems like a distant memory. It's as if our minds won't let go of the search, no matter how hard we try to rest. What do you do when your thoughts are too loud to sleep and your heart is too heavy to ignore? You long for truth, but it seems just beyond your reach, creating a storm inside that keeps you awake through the night. Frustration can feel like a constant companion, especially when you're chasing something as elusive as truth. The more you try to grasp it, the more it slips away, leaving only a restless mind and an inability to sleep. Sleep should be a refuge from the chaos of the world, but when you're tangled in the frustration of unspoken truths, even rest becomes an unattainable goal. The mind races, the heart aches, and sleep is nowhere in sight. There are moments when the search for the truth consumes you, when every thought feels like a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit. It's in those times that sleep feels impossible, and all you're left with is a deep frustration that keeps you awake. Truth is a tricky thing to find, often elusive and difficult to pin down. It's frustrating when your thoughts are consumed by it, leaving you tossing and turning, unable to find the peace that sleep should bring. The weight of unanswered questions can be exhausting. It's as though you're carrying a burden that refuses to let you rest. And no matter how hard you try, you can't escape the frustration that keeps you wide awake at night. Sometimes, the hardest part of searching for the truth is the toll it takes on your peace of mind. You can't sleep, you can't think clearly, and the frustration only grows with each passing minute. Do you ever feel like you're running in circles, searching for answers that seem just out of reach? It's the kind of frustration that steals your rest, making sleep feel impossible as your mind spins in search of clarity. When you don't have the answers you're looking for, your mind becomes a battlefield and sleep becomes a casualty. The frustration of not knowing the truth can feel like an endless night with no dawn in sight. The search for truth can feel like an emotional roller coaster with ups and downs that keep you on edge. In the quiet of the night, frustration can make sleep seem like a distant memory, leaving only restless thoughts in its wake. Frustration is like an invisible weight that presses down on you, making everything harder. When you're trying to uncover the truth, it feels like the harder you try, the further sleep slips away from you. It's amazing how the mind works when it's consumed by something it can't quite understand. The more I search for the truth, the more elusive it becomes, and the more frustrated I feel. Sleep, once a refuge, now feels like a distant dream. Have you ever wished for just a moment of peace, to let go of the frustration that consumes you? The truth seems so far out of reach, and it feels like your thoughts are drowning in a sea of unanswered questions, making sleep impossible. Frustration is the companion of those who seek truth in the dark, where answers feel just out of reach. The mind races, the body grows tired, but sleep is a luxury when your thoughts are overwhelmed with questions. It's strange how the truth can haunt you, keeping you up at night, filling your mind with endless what ifs and unanswered questions. In those moments, sleep becomes a distant memory and frustration takes its place. When you're in the middle of searching for something important, the lack of answers becomes a kind of frustration that never lets you rest. It's like a weight on your chest, keeping you awake as your mind churns through thoughts that never seem to resolve. I find it hard to let go of my thoughts when I'm consumed by the need for answers. The frustration of not knowing the truth leaves me wide awake, my mind racing through endless scenarios in search of something real. There are moments when it feels like the truth is just beyond my grasp, taunting me with its elusiveness. The frustration of not knowing keeps me awake, unable to find the rest I so desperately need. When you're filled with frustration, it can feel impossible to escape. Sleep feels like a distant memory, and every thought is tied to the search for answers that are still out of reach.